I've been a diehard Kobe Bryant fan for more than 30 years. 20 years of his playing career in the NBA, and then 10 years that have followed since. If you're like myself and you became a Kobe Bryant supporter, you know it can be a pretty lonely place sometimes to be. We've had to spend the majority of those 30 years defending him and his legacy against more attacks than any other elite athlete in the history of professional sports. Throughout that time, we've had some prominent figures in the media and other athletes themselves that defended Kobe Bryant, defended the factual accomplishments that he made during his 20-year playing career. But there's never been a Kobe defender in mainstream media until now. I found SkapAttack's YouTube channel, SkapAttack, more than 3 years ago now, and I got fortunate enough to be one of his first 1,000 subscribers. During that time, Jay has had explosive growth, being one of the fastest growing sports channels on the YouTube platform. He's become a mainstay on national programs like Jason Whitlock's Fearless. He's dominated former NBA All-Stars like Gilbert Arenas in head-to-head 5-hour-plus long debates. Millions upon millions of views for his own content and the content that he produces with others. And today, I had the great opportunity and honor to sit down with him again. And he has a lot of exciting new content coming up, both with his channel and other channels that he's going to be starting in the near future over the next few months, which we talked about all that as well. This was really focused on Victor Wembanyama, the NBA Finals. Of course, we managed to mix in a little bit of Kobe Bryant and sadly LeBron James as well. You know, we had to do it. Please make sure you're subscribed. We're going to have some other pieces from this interview with Jay talking about what it takes to build a successful YouTube channel. And again, kind of teasing some of the exciting things that he's got coming up in the very, very near future for all of us sports fans here. So without further ado, Jay, thank you again so very much for doing this and for joining me today.
My pleasure. Always fun to get on and talk with you. Thank you.
Well, so for those of you that don't know, I am a SkapAttack super fan and glazer, I think is what the kids say. So we had the opportunity to sit down with Jay right before the start of the season. So we've got a lot to talk about. But tell me, what's new with the channel?
Yeah, I can't remember how many subscribers I might have had when we last sat down and did this, but I'm getting close finally to the 100,000 mark.
Wasn't for this damn algorithm to get you to 100,000. I think now you've got about 97, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I'm right about 97. And I don't know. You talk about marketing. Well, the social media thing, I still am trying to learn and figure it out myself. I don't quite understand social media still to this point. YouTube in particular, even though I've been on there now it's been about 3 years exactly now that I've been doing it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm doing the same stuff, Stephen, I think, in my estimation. If not, I'm doing it better than I ever have. And for whatever reason, yeah, the subscribers, the views are better than it's ever been before. But the first 2 years I did it, I got 34,000 subscribers each year. Yep. And now this year of 2026, I'm pacing for 12,000 subscribers. So that
makes
is why
no sense whatsoever.
It really doesn't. I don't want to bemoan the algorithm or, basically everybody, any creator, any size. This is what I've learned. Whether you have 500 subscribers or 5 million, every subscriber will think that they're in some way being screwed, throttled down, or suppressed in some way by the algorithm. So it's not specific to me, but it is a little fishy that I get more impressions, more views, more everything basically than I ever have. But the subscribers, typically I could always bank on 100 to 200 subs a day when I put a video out. Now, Stephen, there are days I'm an NBA channel primarily. I want to become a sports channel overall, and probably more specifically NFL and NBA, but I'm known primarily on the platform as basketball and NBA. And I put out basically a video and a live stream every day for the last 2 months, essentially, once the playoffs began. At least almost every day, I'm doing a live stream and one video. And there are days, multiple days, throughout the playoff run this year in the NBA where I've had single-digit subscribers added or zero.
Wow.
So I honestly
That's crazy, Skap. And your retention rate is crazy. Well, and again, I don't want to go down this road too much, but glad we're talking about it because as a fan of yours and as somebody who's a nerd and is obsessed with algorithms, people I like yourself, I'm fascinated with the numbers and it pisses me off on your behalf. And my perception of it is, as a guy that does like math and does study things of that nature. It seems like, do you think maybe the YouTube algorithm has kind of capped you in your audience and they won't show it to anyone outside of you? Do you think that's what it is, or what do you think the logic is behind that?
Yeah, I think it does seem like that is the case. I basically for the first couple years, like I would average anywhere between 800,000 to like 1 million views per month. Now it's like 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 million views per month. So it's like I'm definitely increasing on that end. However, I do notice that I see some channels in passing. I don't watch much YouTube myself, funny enough, but someone might mention what watch time hours they're getting from subscribed versus non-subscribed people. And usually it's always quite low, like 3 to 5% of their watch times coming from subscribed individuals. And that's how it used to be for me, like under 10. Now somewhere around like 45, almost 50% maybe of my watch time hours comes from subscribed people. So it's like it's primarily the subscribers that I already have. So I don't know. We'll see. A lot of the kids tell me, Stefan, that it's outrageous that I have done this with no presence on any other platform. So I don't.
Well, that's right. You're like me. You don't have a TikTok. You don't have an Instagram or any of that, right?
I was at Penn State when Facebook came out. And I was one of the test universities. So I had Facebook from like basically the beginning when Facebook came out. So I still have that. I'm not really on it ever. And then I have X, but I don't post really ever on it. I use it mainly for like sports news and just things that I follow or fantasy football stuff or different actors maybe. So I don't do much on that either. Then I do not have Instagram or TikTok, but that's something. So when the season ends, I think I'm moving in a direction. I've finally been convinced.
Oh, you're getting converted to the TikTok.
Maybe not TikTok, but definitely Instagram.
Okay.
I have one of my friends who I mentioned fantasy football a minute ago. He's a graphic designer. He's in his mid 40s. He's been a graphic designer for like 25 years. He's very hip with the young generation, and he knows like how to market these short things. I don't think my content is geared for shorts very well because I talk so much and all my videos are longer. But he has convinced me that he can really move the needle and expand my footprint quickly so I'm just gonna turn it over to him. Basically, we're gonna have a discussion at the end of the month, and I'm gonna see what his plan, what he wants to do, see what he thinks would be best for me, and then we'll hash it out and determine what I might be willing to pay him a month to do all that stuff. And
it's a weird thing when you have to make those. I've made those decisions with how much to pay family and friends, but anyway, I won't get into that. Well, yeah, I'm sure he's right. And everybody that I've witnessed or talked to that's had success, except for you, I guess, with the YouTube, has had a TikTok as the driving force. And I don't know any of that stuff. But my wife's a little younger than me. She's obsessively with the TikTok and the Instagram, and I don't want any part of it. But I support it for you as your ultimate glazer, which I hope that. What does glaze mean? Do you know what it means? I think it just means you're a big fan. But if there's any weird Lester's banana connotation there, then that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know, Stefan. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. We've determined that we're basically the same age. So I am as unlike hip and knowledgeable about the young lingo, the young kid lingo as you are, or this whatever the texter or social media acronym stuff. Like I don't understand any of it. For the first time in like probably my whole life, like four or 5 years ago, I started realizing that I am not dialed in with any of the younger generation. Basically, if you were born before like 1995 or after 1995 at this point, I could barely even hold a conversation with you almost.
I had a kid, this was literally just like 3 or 4 days ago. I was going to pick up my wife's prescription at CVS, and I'm walking in, and this kid is probably like 20, 25. He said, "Oh man, that hat's clean." And I was like, "Well, yeah, it's brand new. It is pretty clean, but I guess clean." So if people tell me what that means. Anyway, I guess it means good. But anyway, so as long as glaze is not some weird stuff, I am the ultimate Skap glazer. And as that, I support you getting a TikTok because I think it makes sense. It works.
Yeah, I think my wife still thinks there's some connectivity to like China with TikTok. So she has actually She's bought me a tablet which will not have any like personal information or banking information or anything like that we ever utilize that tablet for. That will be the only way I'm permitted to log into TikTok. So
Mrs. Scap is on it. Nicely done. Well, and I will say this too, and then we'll get into the sports, but just since, I love the business side of it too, I think that the type of following you've built is the hardest one to build, because there might be a floor level base of people that just hate LeBron or love Kobe or love Michael Jordan or whatever that might subscribe just because of that. But then to keep them coming back and to really build beyond that, they have to really like you and your long form analysis. So there's a lot, it's hard to provide enough meat for people to really stick with it. So I would say your subscriber base, your 100,000 in some ways analytically might be more valuable than 1 million of people just watching shorts of you playing with a dog. Were you playing with Luna? So
right. Yeah. And I think you're right. And that's why if I can retain those core loyal followers and expand to some more casual people to like enhance my base a little bit, that's obviously the goal, and that's what I would hope to strive towards with getting on these other platforms and stuff. But it's been crazy. Like when I started, things have been changing and I've been altering the content to some degree. I mean, when I started, it was primarily just voiceover, kind of documentary / mockumentary stuff. But now it's gotten to the point where, like I could only do so many like docu-series about Kobe's playoff runs. Like I've already talked about mostly all of it.
Yeah.
The same with LeBron. Like I can only criticize his playoff failures or whatever so much. So I've expanded from that, which was always the goal, Stefan, ultimately from the beginning. It was I wanted to become sort of just like a sports personality, essentially. So I've kind of evolved from that format at the beginning to now I am I'm pretty much on camera for most of my videos now at this point. As you know, I do these outrageously length live streams every night virtually during the postseason. So
that's some records this year. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been crazy. So that's kind of the direction I'm going into. To kind of go full circle and finally answer your question, what's coming up with the channel? I think I'm trying to get to a point where I'm going to do a daily live show every day, same time, Monday through Friday. I'll probably have it be a podcast as well, but it will be shot as video for like a YouTube video, and then I'll kind of cut out maybe 2 or 3 8 to 10 minute segments of like my hot takes or my best moments of that day and put them on the day for people that aren't watching the whole like live episode or whatever. So that's kind of the direction I'm going in. And then for the previous documentary style stuff I used to do, I might even create a second channel so it doesn't, because I still want to do that content, but it's going to get buried under the volume of all the other stuff. So yeah. I want to find a way to segregate it. So maybe people that don't want to look at me or don't watch me or don't want to watch me or don't like me as a personality, that just wants to see the documentary style videos, they could maybe find it somewhere else.
No, that's great. Well, and I've thought about that too, and it's been fun watching you grow and the channel grow. And I thought about that to where, and I think maybe I heard you say it on a live stream. Somebody asked you your opinion on LeBron or Kobe or whatever, and you said, well, I've got like 1,500 videos about it or whatever. You go look. It's an interesting thing. Once you get it's important to get your foundation set. But once it is set, why would you want to talk about the same thing that you've already talked about 200 times?
Right. And it's also though, like when I go back and look at some older videos from time to time, I'm like, damn, that was a good ass video. But now it's like, I put it out 2 years ago. So it's like, no, I mean, they still get, they accumulate views forever, but like they don't reach the amount of audience from when you initially released it. And then there's probably people, maybe even half of my base who haven't seen like my original core set of videos, which are like awesome videos, I think. So maybe revoice them and turn them over to like a professional editor and then put them on a different channel and have them there, and then kind of cross market them from my existing channel over to that would be like my plan, I guess.
That's smart. Well, I watched The Last Flop for the first time in a couple of years, like a month ago. And I was watching, I'm like, man, this is just, I think even though The Last Choke is like perfect from an analysis standpoint, The Last Flop's just so freaking funny. Nicely done. Great video. Anyway, everybody go watch The Last Flop. Anyway, the last question on all that. So when you get to 100,000 subscribers, which again, anybody listening to this, if you're somehow listening to this and you have not subscribed to the SkapAttack YouTube channel, please go do so. He's at about 97,000 right now. I want to be a tiny little fractional part of watching him get to that 100,000. They give you a plaque. And I've heard you mention that you want the plaque. How much do goals like that and milestones to break up the monotony and kind of that Kobe mentality of getting to that level, how much does that mean to you to get that 100,000 plaque?
I mean, yeah, it means a lot, honestly, because like I said, two friends of mine actually started this channel for me like 5 or 6, maybe 7 years ago, and were trying to coax me into doing it because they thought I would be good at it. And I just didn't do anything with it for like 4 years after they created it. And finally, about 3 years ago, I decided I was going to really take a run at it. And my goal at the time when I started I think I had 300 or 400 total subscribers at that point. I looked around the vast expanse of YouTube and I said, well, I mean, honestly, some of these channels aren't that good. I think I could pretty easily get to 100,000 subscribers, was what I said to myself like 3 years ago. And I was like, yeah, I'll probably be able to do that in the first year or two. And now here we are in year 3, but I am finally getting very close. And it will be like a moment of, I think, celebration just overall for the journey and what it's taken to get here. And yes, there is. For the best of my knowledge, there is still, they give out, I think it's a silver play button plaque for 100,000. Then I think the next one's not till 1 million. I think you get like a gold one at 1 million, and then maybe 5 million, you get like a platinum or something like that. So I would be very far away from my next plaque, but I will celebrate my initial plaque accordingly. And then, yeah, set probably the next milestone or goal, which would probably be like, realistically, probably like 250,000 would be the next like thing that I really set my sights towards and like really go after.
I just hope the bastards don't discontinue the plaque right when you get there. That would make me. But anyway. All right. Well, so pretty incredible NBA Finals series going on here. My first question to you is, when the playoffs started, I know you're a pretty diehard Jokic guy, obviously, so you have to be a Nuggets fan by result. But if I would have asked you to pick the best possible Finals matchup, this would have been pretty high on the list, I would think, right?
So the one I was rooting for, Stefan, yes, I am unfortunately a Nuggets fan. I say unfortunately because I know they stink and they had no chance to get there. I thought, honestly, if they could avoid the Timberwolves, they could have beaten the Spurs, and then I thought they would have lost to the Thunder in the West Finals. And then I thought it was going to be, when the playoffs started way back when, I thought it was going to be Thunder and Celtics. Of course, the Celtics absolutely choked their asses off in the first round, blew a 3-1 lead to the Philadelphia 76ers of all teams. But then, look, if you asked me, though, what my favorite finals or what I would like to see, even though I thought there was no chance, I would have told you Knicks Nuggets. So yeah. I actually did get half of the equation there of what I would have really liked to see.
Is Wemby, where does he rank for you these days on your favorite current player list?
I don't like many players in the NBA today. I like Jokic and Giannis have been two guys, and the reason I've liked and respected them so much is because they've proven they could win in a small market with very middling to subpar teams around them. And they've just stayed there despite the fact that their organization has done very little to support their abilities to win. They don't demand trades. They don't talk shit on their teammates. They don't run around and join other people. Now, Giannis looks like finally, after like 13 years, he's on his way out. And I would endorse that move at this point, as long as he doesn't jump to the Thunder or something. Like, I don't want to see, like, I've never disliked players that have proven that they just simply aren't in a winning atmosphere with their organization leaving, like Kevin Garnett. Like, he gave everything he could. He did everything he could to elevate that organization. They weren't going along with him for the ride. So I was totally okay with him leaving. Didn't love the fact that he went and joined the Paul Pierce and Ray Allen, but they were older players, not like first team all NBA caliber players at the time, but still.
You can make an argument that's the first super team, really, that
you
Boston,
could.
You know.
You could, except for the fact, again, that none of them were all NBA the year before the join up, except for KG. They were all still all-star caliber, but not like best in the league, I don't think, anymore, or like top 5 even at the time. But I still reject the move to join 2 other superstars. If Giannis, though, just wants to go to some like Miami, if he goes to Miami, which is the team I'm hearing, like, they're not a super team, obviously. They're not even a top 5 team probably in the East. No. But if he says, look, I trust that organization, that coach to do what they need to help me get to a better place where I can compete, I'm all for that. But because Giannis and Jokic are just so classy, and they hadn't done the jump. That's why I really like them. And really, that's it, quite frankly, in today's NBA until Wembanyama came along. Because while he hasn't been in the league long enough to prove that he's gonna, be a classy guy like those two and not jump around the league, I don't think he will. But he has shown enough in this early stage of his career that he does have like an old school kind of mentality and mindset about the game and an approach to it. Like he is an elite two-way player, and honestly, his defense right now is substantially above his offense. So like he's only going to get much better. And he still averages 25 and 11 in the regular season
and like 30 minutes a game. I'm excited that as lifelong Kobe guys and Jokic guy for you, we spend our entire lives going back to teenage years defending players that the media and everybody around us hated for the most part. We might actually get to love a player that the media is backing. It's exciting.
Yes. It's refreshing. It is. Like to finally have a golden player.
It's kind of fun.
Like that you can get behind and support, because to me, look, I like mostly everything I've seen of him to this point. Like he's struggling in these finals. There's been some issues with him in these finals, but he's 22 years old. He's in his third NBA season, and to see a guy that he's all NBA, he's defensive player of the year caliber and MVP caliber. I didn't think we would see a guy in the modern era be that again. Like a guy that is a true two-way because Kobe Bryant and like Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett, like those guys are first team all NBA defense every year basically for like 10 plus years.
That was the focus, yeah.
Right. I never thought we would get to an era or a stage because of there's such a focus on just offense and stuff like that these days that I never thought we would get to a point where we would see like a specimen like him again. And here he is. And he genuinely hates losing. Like he looks like a true competitor that is his number one singular focus and driving point is just winning. So again, he is a throwback guy. The only thing that isn't old school about him is his physique. The guy looks like a walking skeleton figure. So he's got to strap on a little bit of muscle moving forward.
It was evident to me, honestly, in the All-Star game was when I was like, oh man, like, wow, this guy's actually pissed that they lost. It used to be our generation and the Kobe's and like you said, the Garnett, Duncan, obviously Jordan and everyone before. You didn't have to force people to care. You didn't have to tell people to care. But now, unfortunately, because of the LeBron James generation and the staff and all this, you do. You can just tell how pissed he gets when he loses at anything.
And Kobe, I remember him telling the story back whenever they were asking him about his defense in some interview. And he said, like, the first time he really decided he needed to become an elite defender I think he was playing Tim Thomas, who was, if you remember, he was a decent NBA player, Tim Thomas, journeyman, like kind of played with the
Knicks, Sixers,
yep. And he was actually, I think he was the number one prospect in Kobe's recruiting class. And Kobe came up against him in ABCD camps, like when they were in high school. And they would just go back and forth scoring on each other basically at will. And Thomas said to him, like, yeah, I can't stop you, but you can't stop me either. So Kobe's like, you know what? You're right. I'm going to change that. And then, he said from that moment forth, he really put as much of a focus on the defensive side of things as he did on the offensive side.
Well, and I think it's partially too, right, because since Jordan set the template for everybody in the 80s and the 90s, the defense mattered. I feel like Kobe's generation followed that and took it to heart. LeBron, he set the tone for this generation to where it's like, doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. And so as his generation phases out and begins to retire, because of Wemby, if Giannis can ever get healthy again, I have hope for the next 15 years.
I agree. Look at all the teams in the playoffs that had some sort of success, like the Thunder, and on the West, the Thunder, obviously the Spurs and the Timberwolves. Like those are all defensively oriented teams. Like even if they, like the Timberwolves kind of took time off in the regular season from defense, but they emerged back again as an elite defensive team once the playoffs began. And then the Knicks, like everybody talks about like the Knicks in general, their offense, how much of a role they've been on in these playoffs. But I mean, really look at their defense. Like they were okay in the regular season. They were upper echelon. I think they were the 8th net rated defense in the regular season. They gave up, I think, 112 or 113 points per 100 possessions. In these playoffs, they're giving up like 101 per 100 possessions. They're the number one net rated defense. So like a 12 point cut per 100 possessions from regular season to playoffs. Like that's why they're here, because of the way they defend right now.
It shows you too that all of the teams could do this anytime they want. The fact that they do it in the playoffs, and that makes it all the more depressing why they don't do it in the regular season. But anyway, well, let me ask you this. I mean, because to your point, and I said all those nice things about Wemby, I'm officially rooting for the Knicks. But Brunson, and I'm curious to get your official take on this, because you did a video to where you were talking about the Mamba mentality and his connection to Kobe, which was a really interesting video. I didn't know any of those stories. Then I've heard you say a lot of kind of negative stuff about him too since then. So what's your position on Brunson?
So I dislike LeBron, but I also, so most of the time though, Stephen, it's weird. Like I don't necessarily like or dislike players. Like I like or dislike the kind of press that they're getting, whether I personally perceive them to be overrated or underrated. There are a few players that I actively dislike, such as LeBron. So, and I also think he's just monstrously overrated as well. So that works out for me that I get to attack him for being overrated. But
it's nice that your argument is factual. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right. But in terms of mostly other players, like I don't necessarily like or dislike. It's just I have liked Brunson and admired him for years because he was kind of an unheralded guy that came into the NBA. He was an elite college player that everybody basically wrote off at that level. And, you know, he went to Dallas, got kind of hidden on that team for, I think, 4 years beside Luka Dončić. And then he went to New York and became kind of a superstar. So I've been an admirer of him for several years. And I've been rooting for him throughout last playoffs and these playoffs. But now I'm starting to hear it all started, Stephen, because I am on Jason Whitlock's show Fearless mostly every day, especially if there's basketball news percolating around. And before game one of the NBA Finals started, he had me on and we were setting kind of the series up, and he said, we've got Brunson versus Wemby. I'm going for Brunson here. He's an American player. He's that gritty old school player versus this punk young foreigner. And I said, Jason, let's pump the brakes here. You're putting Brunson on Wembanyama's level. Like, I love Brunson, but he's not a Wembanyama caliber player.
He's a borderline top 15 to top 20 guy.
Yeah. You could even argue as high as top 10, like 9, 10, like on the fringe end of the top. You can argue it. But somewhere between, like 10 to 20. And I said, Jason, Brunson isn't the reason they're here. He may be the leader of the head of the snake. But really, if you dig into the advanced analytics and metrics of it all, there's nothing. Not one singular metric you can point to that says that Brunson is even better than OG or Cat. Like OG Anunoby and Karl Anthony Towns have been, from the beginning of the playoffs till now, the two best and the two most important players on the Knicks team. Now, Brunson gets all the credit and stuff because he hits those final shots, but I take exception with, while I compare him to Kobe's and the mentality, Kobe did a hell of a lot more. Like, Brunson just has to basically hit those shots at the end of the games. Kobe had to get them to the end of the games and then make the shots.
It's really infuriating. It really pisses me off, Skap, that they do this, and this is why I harp so much about the media aspect of it. And I know we agree about this, but I think maybe I'm even more the media specifically obsessed with it than you. Maybe not. I don't know. But it's almost like we can't root for anybody, because the second we start to like somebody, they take it 2 steps too far or 15 steps too far, and they start comparing him to Kobe, because it's this continuous attack against him. Why they hate him so much, it's hard for me to fathom, other than it's just they have to, because if you acknowledged he was better than LeBron in his own era, then all the GOAT stuff goes away. But yeah, I mean, it's all that aside, though, it is fun watching him come up the court, and this little guy, you can see it on his face, how intense he is and how much he cares. So
definitely. And he fits, I think, his like mentality or whatever, his approach, it fits New York perfectly. I feel like he's a perfect New York athlete. And then they've built the perfect team around him. I mean, honestly, all those guys just fit and play their roles so specifically and perfectly. It has been a magical run. I talk about it, on the live streams, but that I have never seen a team be a team of destiny in the NBA. It happens a lot in hockey, baseball, football, because of the setup of the tournament. And football is a 1-game elimination, so it's easy to just get hot at the end sometimes, and then you beat teams that are way better than you all year long. In hockey, you get hot goaltending going on. In baseball, your bats could just come alive at the end, or your pitching, your bullpen is just out of their minds. So oftentimes we see every 3 or 4 years, I feel like we're seeing a team that just gets hot at the right time and is just clicking on all cylinders in those other sports. But in the NBA, it never happens. It's like the best team or the best player with the best assortment of guys around him. That team is typically the team that always wins. But the Knicks, it's just a magical run. I just don't think they just have this aura about them now of invincibility. And no matter how bad it looks or how bleak it seems. 29-point deficit in game 4, down 20 in the fourth quarter, and they just find a way to get back. It really is just an amazing story.
They've been down. If you look at it, every game the Knicks have won, they've been down big early. I might be biased because I've got so many people that I'm talking to, that I'm close to, that are from that area, and I know how much they care. So it's inspiring for me to get to see them through all these decades of pathetic performance by their franchise in the front office to finally get this. But my long-winded question, who are you, Jay SkapAttack? Who are you rooting for?
Typically, Stefan, in my young life, I was on top, man. I'll tell you. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh. The Steelers were good. The Penguins were good. I'm a diehard, lifelong Kobe fan. The Lakers were good. Like, I basically just always had a team that I loved that I was rooting for when I was young. In the second stage of my life now at this point, all my teams stink for the most part. And I hate teams more than I love them now. So I'm generally rooting against things, not for things now in the second wave of my life. And the season always begins, Stefan, where yes, you've noted and I've discussed, I am a Jokic supporter. So yes, I want the Nuggets to win at the beginning of the year. But other than that, I don't want Steph to get another one. I don't want LeBron to get another one. And now I dislike the Thunder as well. So they're on the list too. I don't want them to get one. So those are the 3 teams. Other than that, I'm pretty much okay with anybody winning, but I have become captivated by the Knicks' run throughout this time, like throughout the playoffs. So I was really feeling myself starting to root for them through the playoffs as it's gone on. But then I felt conflicted because the Spurs, I felt, did me a great bit of service by beating the Thunder and taking them out. So I felt indebted to them. So when this series started, I was conflicted.
Me too.
And I didn't know. Like I would have been happy for either team. I would have felt really badly for either team that lost. So I think I landed on, even before the Magic really started happening in this series, I landed on the Knicks because to me, the Knicks may never get back. As great as they've been and as great as they've looked in these playoffs, this could just be one of those one-year magical outliers. Whereas the Spurs, it's hard not to imagine them in the finals like 4 or 5 times in the next 6 years. So they're going to have plenty of opportunities to win and win a lot more. So I've been rooting for the Knicks, for the players and for just the city and the fan base in general that have been just starving for some kind of success for so long.
And I landed in the same spot for the same reasons. And to bring it full circle back to my original point of what a beautiful matchup this is, as opposed to just the Thunder, to me, are just so boring. Something we can all enjoy watching the basketball, and you're kind of happy at the end of the day either way.
Exactly. And they've treated us, honestly, to every game is good. You mentioned the big leads. Like the Knicks, the games they won, they were down by 14, 12, and 29 in those games. But like, despite the fact the games are like lopsided early, every game is down to the wire. Like every game. Like the first game was like a 2-point game with a minute left. The second game was tied with 9 seconds left. The third game was a 2-point game with 9 seconds left. And then this game was a 1-point game with 5 seconds left. So, and then it was a 1-point game with 1 second left. So like every single game is a 1-possession score game.
It's pretty crazy.
In the last minute. Like it's crazy. Like, I don't know if you've looked into this, but I looked at the viewership right now. Going into Game 4, the highest watch game of the series was 23 million views.
Wow.
Which is the highest since Jordan's last game in 98 when he won his 6th and final championship, right?
That's crazy.
And it's averaging 19 million viewers, which is also the highest other than that 98 series. So like obviously this has captivated the interests of not just the New York. Everyone wants to say, oh, this because the Knicks have a massive fan base. I don't think it's just that. I think yes, the Knicks are a portion of that, but then the other part is obviously Wemby, and then the games are really good. Yeah. So people are just getting behind it. The NBA is bouncing back finally. It's taken like 10 years since LeBron James destroyed the NBA for them to finally kind of feel like they're back. But I think this playoff run was the first time. I've been talking about it for years, like we're getting back, we're kind of coming back a little bit, but this playoff run was the first time I've actually felt like, okay, this kind of has a little bit of a feel of the way it did before, like the LeBron era ruined everything.
Just to give context to people that don't know, so you said it's averaging 19 million. So like LeBron and Anthony Davis, or Anthony Davis and LeBron rather, their bubble championship I think averaged like 7 million viewers.
7 million, yes. That the lowest watched finals in NBA history.
Well, at a time when we were all locked in our homes and starved for something to watch, and we decided we'd rather watch Sneaky Pete on Amazon Prime than the NBA final. Anyway, but to your point, I think this is the most fun as a fan I've had watching basketball since Kobe retired.
100%. I mean, I honestly, I quit watching basketball for a few years. I would watch the playoffs still just to root against, just to hate watch LeBron and root against him after Kobe retired. But there was several years where I didn't watch a single NBA regular season game after Kobe retired. Basically, like Giannis kind of brought me back in. MVP, Defensive Player of the Year winner, won a championship with a tiny market with like pretty mediocre players around him. So he kind of got me back in. And then I started watching Jokic making fun of him and trying to make fun of the era. I'm like, look, wait a second. You're telling me this is the era of super athletes that none of the past great players that we've ever seen could possibly compete in this era. Yet you've got this dude who could barely run up and down the floor and jump off of a curb, who is absolutely destroying this whole era. Like, is that for real? So I basically started just to make fun of him. And then the more I watched him, the more I fell in love with his gameplay and everything. So those two guys kind of brought me back. But even as I became a fan of them, I wasn't enamored in the least with the overall product of the NBA. But like this year, I've seen some steps in the right direction. You mentioned it earlier. I think the next step is, why can't we apply the defensive efforts we've seen throughout the postseason to the entire season? Yeah. Like that would really, because it was I think 116 points per game on average in the regular season, which is the highest ever for any non-1960 season. Yeah. And now in the playoffs, it's down like 10 points per game in the playoffs, because they're actually playing and they're actually trying and competing on that side.
And that's the thing. Yeah. All these idiots that either intentionally are lying or just too young or naive to know, like, that say, oh, this is just because everybody's so skilled. The skill all go away in the playoffs? Because like you said, it's just the numbers fall off a cliff. And not to go too far down that road, but it's infuriating, I know, to both of us, that the numbers from this era, and it's like everyone in the media acknowledges it, that it's this supercharged steroid era of stats, but then they still use the stats to denigrate previous players like Kobe or even Duncan or Nowitzki or whoever.
I mean, look no further than the main guy, like the greatest stat producer ever in Jokic. Like his numbers are insane looking, right? His analytics are insane looking. And look, in the playoffs, his stat line still looked awesome in that putrid first round exodus to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are basically perfectly constructed. For anybody that doesn't know, the general manager that constructed Nikola Jokic's championship team in 2023 actually went to Minnesota in 2024 and built the perfect foil that could beat the Denver Nuggets, essentially, which is why the Timberwolves own the Nuggets, because the guy that built the Nuggets built the team in Minnesota to beat the Nuggets. And they have Rudy Gobert, by the way, who has more first-team All-NBA selections than any human being that has ever played professional basketball, not named Kobe, Kevin Garnett, Michael Jordan, or Gary Payton. Gary Payton, Kevin Garnett, Kobe, and Jordan. Other than that, they all have 9 first-team defensive selections. This year, Gobert had his 8th. And he's a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. So Jokic had to go against that dude for the entire series, and they lost, obviously. Basic stat lines still look great, right? 26.5 points, 13.5 rebounds, 9 assists. But still, down substantially, like, from the regular season. This guy shot 67% true shooting in the regular season, 56% from the field. He was down to 45% though in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So like, and same thing with SGA. Your point earlier about how they're saying he's better than Kobe because he averaged 30 points per game this year on 55% shooting from the field. The only guard in NBA history, Jordan included, to average 55%, 30 plus. But when he got in the playoffs, it didn't look like that.
No.
Like, look what happened even in the series against the Lakers with older Marcus Smart now defending him, totally shut him down. If you look at after the first round, played the Suns, the Phoenix Suns, and they swept them, whatever. But in the second round, the Lakers and final series in the West against the Spurs, he averaged like 25 points per game on 42%.
Which is about what he would have averaged in the 90s and the 2000s, is probably in that mid to high 20, 25 to 27, and in the low to mid 40 shooting percentage. And that's a great career. But It's not this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And people don't understand. They're like, oh, well, look at how much more efficient he is than Kobe. Look at all these things. But put him against defenses that aren't even as good as the defenses Kobe saw and had to play against throughout his entire career.
The Spurs,
much smaller.
Yeah.
Right, a much slower era too. Like people walked the ball up. There was no spacing. Everything was clogged in the middle. And still, even despite the fact he played much better defenses by and large and had a harder overall era to be able to put numbers up. His numbers are still by and large ridiculous looking. And he's still top 3 in 50, 60, 40-point games all time. So when people jump the gun, Stephen, and it is outrageous. Like everybody has to be compared to Kobe, or everybody has to be better than Kobe whenever they do anything of note at any point in this NBA era.
It's depressing for us because I actually would love to be able to support SGA. I actually think he seems like a good kid, and he's a diehard Kobe guy apparently. But I just can't because of this BS. It's not even his fault. It's just they can't not attack his legacy because that's the mandate that I think LeBron got his heart broken by Kobe. Skap, honestly, that's my new theory I was thinking about the other day. Is I think LeBron was a diehard Kobe fan when he came in. Kobe shunned him and said, "Get away from me. I don't want anything to do with you." And then LeBron, he just can't let it go. I think it's like the high school sweetheart that broke his heart. That's
a good theory. I can see that being true because you can see even when they were in mutual interviews or co-interviews or whatever, especially around the Redeem Team stuff, you could see that LeBron was kind of fangirling over Kobe, and Kobe really wanted nothing to do with him. So
it's true because he didn't respect it because he got just handed to him all the things that Kobe and Jordan and others had to work for.
Exactly. And then it only got worse as LeBron jumped around the league to snatch all those cheap, easy rings. I think Kobe's disdain and resentment only grew. And he put on a good face when LeBron went to LA because, his longtime agent and very close friend, Rob Pelinka, was highly invested in that working out. So Kobe, I think, kind of let it go because he was retired and whatever. But I think in an honest moment, Kobe would have said, "I am absolutely disgusted that this guy."
And I think that's why he did it, is for not just that reason, but I think that he thought, because he is a marketing genius, he's a media manipulation genius, or his team is, somebody is. And I think they thought, well, if I go to Kobe's team, then a portion of his fans are going to have to love me and root for me. And it really kind of funnily didn't work out that way. I've had to root against my own team for 7-8 years now. But yeah, I think that was a lot of the one thing I've been wanting to talk to you about, Skap. This might be a differing opinion, which I get. We agree on so much that I actually get excited when there's something that we might disagree on, because I'm like, oh, good. So Luka with the Lakers, talking about modern players and talking about the statistic explosion that we've got going on here. I didn't have a lot of respect for Luka's game before the trade to the Lakers because honestly, he's like the white LeBron to me. Like the game has to revolve around him. He gets kind of the fake assist, 7-8 assists that LeBron's always gotten, and James Harden's a good example of that. But when he came to LA and I saw the LeBron media machine starting to do what they do and destroy him, I started finding myself drawn to him and more connected to him. And then I started looking at the numbers and I'm like, this guy is one of only 2 players in the history of basketball to ever average 32, 8, and 8. And he's done it more times than anyone. It's just him and Jordan, and he's done it, I think, twice, and Jordan's done it once. So I've become a Luka fan, or maybe I'm trying to force it a little bit because I'm jealous. You've got your love affair with Jokic, and I want somebody too in the modern. Maybe it'll be Wemby, but tell me your thoughts on Luka Dončić, where you're at with him at this point.
So I was a Luka hater for most of the early part of his career, and I too just saw him as a one-sided, like offensive inflation kind of machine and didn't play on defense. But I had to change some of my theory about him when he got through the West that one year. Look, he beat the Clippers, who he wasn't supposed to beat in the first round. They were the 5 seed. So they played the 4-5 matchup against the Clippers as the underdog, won it. Then they went on and played. People don't really remember this. 3 years ago, Gilgeous-Alexander won. He finished runner-up to Nikola Jokic that year. So Shea lost to Nikola Jokic 3 years ago in MVP, then won the last 2 over Jokic. But that year that he finished runner-up to Jokic, the Nuggets and Thunder tied with the same number of wins that season, but the Thunder had the tiebreaker. So they were actually the 1 seed then. So they've been the 1 seed 3 straight years. Luka then beat that Thunder team in the second round. Then the Timberwolves, presumptive massive favorites after they upset the Nuggets that year, and Luka went in and just dismantled that Minnesota Timberwolves team, beat them 4-1. Then they went into the finals and got completely shut down, and I think totally outmatched by that Boston Celtics team. And Luka had some bad moments in that finals, but I had to fundamentally revise my take on Luka after that run, and now I kind of look at him honestly. Look, as like a Nikola Jokic or a Steph Curry player where, yes, he's not a great defender. He might not even be a good defender, but he can be a willing defender. And if you surround him with the right pieces, like Golden State did for Steph, and like Denver never has done for Jokic, I think Luka can be a top line, perennial kind of contender and playoff riser if he has the right pieces put around him. So that's on the Lakers to do it.
Luka needs your support, Skip. Me and Luka, we need your help.
Well, and look, Stephen, I am SkapAttack because my last name is SkapAttack. Like I am I'm mainly Slovakian ancestry. So yes. And as much as I have railed against the formation of super teams and hate the idea of top 5 players joining, I would be fully behind a Nikola Jokic and Luka Dončić pairing in Tinseltown. Like, bring it to me.
Let's go. All right, I wanted to get your official pick. So my kind of, I guess, maybe hot take opinion is I think whoever wins game 5 wins the series, which I know is not, everybody thinks the Knicks are going to win in 6. I kind of feel like the Knicks have a good shot to just win this next game in game 5. But I think if they don't, I think the pressure all goes on them to win game 6. And then if they don't pull that off, then it's Spurs in 7. So what's your official pick?
Right before the series began, I picked Spurs in 7, but I said while I was making that pick, I did a little live stream pre-series show, and I said, listen, Spurs in 7. However, if the Knicks steal game 1, I will immediately on the show following it flip-flop to Knicks in 6. Will become
you gave a caveat. Pick. What's Gary mad about?
I gave the pre-game caveat.
I didn't know that. Okay, I missed that.
Right. So then when the Knicks won game 1, I came on immediately at the game after. I was like, look, I said yesterday or 2 days ago that I was going to do it. I'm flipping to Knicks in 6. And I think, look, it's the 3-1 isn't impossible. And the Spurs have the advantage of the fact that they only got to win 1 on the road. So like, I don't know that the Knicks will win game 5, but to your point, they got to win 5 or 6. If they do not win 5 or 6, they're obviously losing the series in 7 at San Antonio. I think 5 could be a good game that they just steal because the Spurs are going to be shell-shocked. They're going to anticipate that the Knicks are just going to lay down and be content with going back home and closing it out at home in game 6. And that's not what the Knicks are. That's not what their DNA has been this whole postseason run. So you make a good point that could be a potential actually trap game for the Spurs, even though they're down 3-1 and it's an absolute must win for them, of course. But they might get a trap game. And then if the Knicks somehow come out, they've had slow starts every game. If the Knicks come out and hit them with a flurry early, then that crowd goes dead silent. And then all of a sudden, it's a tough atmosphere as a young home team that's down 3-1 and they have to think about, well, now we have to come back
and they just blew the last game
and win 2 more. Yeah. So I feel like that. I think that's a good point you make, that they might go ahead and just win this thing maybe in 5. And that would probably be best for the city of New York. Otherwise, if they would win or lose that game 6 in New York, oh my God. Like I said on the live stream, you got to call the Avengers in. Get the Avengers, the Justice League, get everybody to save New York, because I can't even imagine. Like, if I lived in the city 7 and it got back to 6, I would be vacating. I would be getting like an 80-mile radius outside of the city.
Go to Buffalo for the weekend. Yeah.
Yes. Win or lose that game 6, just total anarchy in the streets.
That's a good point. They've got a lot of that going on anyway right now. But yeah. Well, and I'll tell you this, I guess maybe it's not that crazy of a take, because I was looking, it's only 5-1. So from 22-1 in 2016 to 5-1, apparently the books don't think it's that unlikely.
Right. And again, you got to look at when it happened with Cleveland, they had to win 2 road games. Like, they had to stave off elimination on the road. Then they went home, and that you would presume that would be a win. Then they had to go back into game 7 then and win on the road. So that's a way bigger ask than the Spurs. And you got to figure, look, the Cavs actually, because Curry was hurt or whatever was happening with him, the Cavs had the 2 best players on the floor in that series. They had LeBron and Irving. But so, like, in this series, not only do the Spurs have 2 of the next 3 in their building, look, Wemby is still the best player in the series.
By far.
And we've just mentioned they've been up double digits in every single game.
There's
they've
a strong
been over
case.
10 in every game. Yeah. So like they could do it. Like, it's not that outrageous to suggest that it's possible. So you're right. It would behoove the Knicks to get the hell out of the series ASAP, because the longer you keep them around, the more, momentum and confidence that they gain, and the harder it's going to be to beat them the further it goes.
Well, go Knicks, game 5. I'm hedged either way, so I'm good. On the status of the NBA, just to kind of go back to that for a minute here, where do you see Giannis going then? Where do you think is the most likely destination for Giannis this offseason? Because it looks like he's going to be moved, like you said.
I honestly thought that the Thunder, I mentioned the Thunder and the fact that I would absolutely hate that. Like, I don't even know if it would be necessarily a good thing for Giannis or the Thunder, but I would have to crush Giannis and the Thunder and SGA if that happened. But it looks like the Thunder want no part of it. Puzzlingly enough to me, the Giannis sweepstakes seems to be the water is pretty tepid and lukewarm right now. Not a lot of people want engagement in there for whatever reason. Yeah. Maybe it's just the fear of because he's only 30. I think he turns 32 in the middle of the next season. So maybe it's just the fear of the fact that he hasn't been available in the playoffs for it feels like 3 or 4 years now. I think it has been about that much time. So maybe just the concern of how much does this guy have left. There's not an overwhelming amount of excitement about acquiring him. So ultimately, I think it's probably going to be Miami, because the Heat have shown interest and a desire to get a deal done. And Giannis specifically has named Miami as one of the 2 or 3 teams that he would really like to get traded to. So I think ultimately it does happen. And the crazy thing is, the ownership of the Bucks have come out and said, we want Giannis's future to be known before the draft. Yeah. So as we sit here right now, that is 11 days away. Yeah.
Well, so there's a short moratorium where you can even really make a move, right, between now and the draft. So.
Correct. Well, right now, yes. And then there's a moratorium on free agency following the draft up until July, 5th or 6th, I think, this year. So players won't be able to officially sign in free agency anywhere but we'll hear the stories of where they're signing and all that stuff. And those stories will be breaking around the 4th of July. But within a few days after the end of this series, we're going to find out, more than likely. I don't think it will happen on draft night. That would be crazy if it did. But we'll find out probably a few days before the draft of where Giannis is going to go. My expectation is Miami, which is not that sexy, quite frankly. I was
thinking that. I was like, man, that's I get it, but it's kind of boring, right? Like, it's like,
doesn't move the needle. I don't think the Heat might win it maybe around in the playoffs then. Maybe if they get the right route in the brackets, maybe they can get to the East Finals. Maybe. I don't see it though. So, that they're not really even a true contender in my estimation in the East. It certainly doesn't make them a contender league-wide then at that point.
I was looking at Giannis's finals numbers from that Suns finals 5, And I just a few days ago, and I was like, my gosh, this guy, like he averaged like 36 a game. And I'm one of the greatest, probably one of the 5 greatest NBA Finals series by a player in history, certainly top 10 for sure, probably 5 or in that range. And it's really depressing what's happened with his career the last half decade here because of the injuries, like you said.
Yeah, it just goes to show like you can never take anything for granted. That's why, like Giannis was whatever, 27 or something when he did that.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, oh, well, sky's the limit. He'll be back many times. Same with and then even more so when Jokic won in 2023, because Jamal Murray had a really great series or a really great playoffs that run too. And they went through 16-4 in those playoffs. And you're thinking, well, dynasty, here we come. Like neither of those two guys have ever sniffed another finals now since. So that just goes to show, like, we anticipate the Spurs are going to be there every year. Wemby's going to win 3-4 rings maybe, but ultimately you never know in sports, right?
It's true. And that's my only kind of pushback with Wemby a little bit. As someone who's declared him my favorite player in the league now currently, it's like he finally, thankfully, got a Defensive Player of the Year this year. But to me, he actually should have won it his rookie year. And they gave it to Gobert I think, out of politics because you don't want to give it to a rookie. Then the 65-game rule got him in year 2. But there's a world, and I really hope it doesn't happen, and I'm going to be rooting for him hard that doesn't. But there's a world where this guy never wins a ring. Honestly, I mean, his health is always going to be in the back of my mind, at least. So
it could happen, and then you've got, the Thunder is still percolating around there. It looks like the Spurs have the Thunder's number. However, the Thunder have Sam Presti at general manager, who might be the best general manager that's ever existed. So he's obviously going to see what happened in this series and try to fortify that moving forward. And then, look, I talk about it a lot. Jokic, he's getting older. He's going to be 32 in February. But Jokic dominates his one-on-ones with Wembanyama at this point.
Yeah, that was fun to watch. Yeah,
right. And if the Nuggets could actually put any semblance of a supporting defensive cast around Jokic, they could beat the Spurs then in the playoffs. So I mean, you just don't know. And then the Spurs, a lot of young guys on a lot of small contracts, they're going to come to maturation on these rookie deals, and then they're going to need to get massive extensions. Will the Spurs, a small market team, be willing to pay maybe Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, and Victor Wembanyama $50+ million each for 4 or 5 years each? I mean, I just don't know if they're going to be able to keep it all together when they're all due their extensions.
To bring that full circle, how would you feel? I guess it would, right? If Giannis went to the Spurs, how would you feel about that?
I wouldn't hate it as much as the Thunder, but I think the move for Giannis to the Spurs was last year. Yeah. I think now, so in the summer last year. So now that they've gone through this whole run now, and they're realistically going to lose this series, but they've been up by double digits in all 4 games, and they've been in single one possession games in the last minute of every game. They're probably going to say, I mean, we should have won the championship this year, even if they lose. So why change anything? Let's just run it, bring it all back for another year. So I think it's unlikely that they do much to tinker, other than whatever they can add with a little bit of size and maybe a power forward for the rotation during the summer, or they'll draft some young kid probably. That will be the only substantial change that I see them making. Oh, and trading De'Aaron Fox probably.
Yeah, everybody hates poor De'Aaron Fox now. I guess we're both probably contrarians in nature, right? But I mean, I feel bad for De'Aaron Fox. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't a good look this series, but call it the worst contract or one of the worst contracts in sports. Is it?
I don't think so. Look, I really like De'Aaron Fox, actually. I would gladly, in a vacuum, drop Jamal Murray as a Jokic fan and take on De'Aaron Fox over Murray in a heartbeat. All day. They make about the same money, and I would much rather have Fox. I don't think Fox is a bad player at all. I have a lot of respect for him. I just look at it from a standpoint. Dylan Harper is probably their second or third best, whatever you want to put him. He's, I think, already their third best player, and he might become as good as their second best player. So you got to get Harper in the starting lineup next year. Yeah. You have to. Yeah. But how do you he's making whatever, $7 million, $8 million a year on his rookie contract right now. How do you bench De'Aaron Fox making $50 million to put a kid making $7 million in ahead of him? So you, I guess, have to start them both, which means that changes your defensive rotations and stuff. It's an untenable, it's a good problem, but it's also a problem because you have to figure out how do you navigate either that situation or how do you offload a guy who's making $210 million over the next 4 years now that isn't showing all that well in this series. I think he's a way better player than what he's showing in this series, but that's going to be the indelible moment or mark that's left on all these teams, you know, on the palette, so to speak, as they're going out. So how palatable will it be to take on $210 million?
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah. Yes, sir. I mean, that's the problem is his value's at an all-time low now. So you might have to attach an asset to get rid of him now. So it's a tough one. I was going to ask you that too with Dylan Harper, as there always is, like we're talking about, there's Kobe comparisons. I haven't seen that. I like his game. Have you seen any flashes? Because I would love for there to be another Kobe, and it might be Wemby, but I'm not seeing it. But have you?
Only in the sense that the kid is fearless. He's elite on both ends. He doesn't shy away from the moment. And he has been the best player on the Spurs for at least a game in this final series, maybe two. Yeah. So like I see young Kobe flashes in that regard because even as early as that 2000 run where people just reject and say, oh, anybody could have been on that team other than just put any other guard on and they win. Like Kobe was the best player on the floor in game 7 against the Trailblazers in the Western Conference Finals that they were down 13 points at the end of the fourth quarter or at the end of the third quarter. They don't even get into the finals that run if it's not for Kobe in that game 7. And then again in game 4 of the finals, Kobe was the best player on the floor at 21 years old, won that game, bumped it from what it would have been 2-2 if not for him. It became 3-1. So just in the fact that even at that point, I was watching that kid and saying, oh, well, Shaq's on this team. And yeah, he's just scored 38 points per game in the finals. But I think this young 21-year-old might be the best player.
Yeah, so, and those of us that were watching at the time, and like I saw you did an interview recently, I think that's the first long-form interview on the channel, right, with a LeBron young man. And I was just thinking, I was watching, he actually seems like a very nice, talented guy. But I was like, I feel bad for him because they just don't know. Because if you were there watching it, and if you were a fan, you knew that the tension was in the Western Conference playoffs. And once we got past Sacramento and San Antonio or whoever, and we got to the finals, you didn't even have to worry about it because you already knew we were playing the Nets or the and it was just stat padding at that point, unintentional stat padding because the East was so bad.
Right. So. I've never understood this, and I still don't like it, Stefan, that they've added the conference finals MVP now as well. Agreed, so there's a conference finals and an NBA finals MVP. I don't understand for the life of me. In the NHL, the Conn Smythe, the playoff, it's a playoff MVP. They don't give it for just the Stanley Cup series, final series. It's who's the best player for the accumulated run of all 4 rounds. You got to win 4 rounds to win an NBA championship. Now it's 16 games. It was 15 games in the early 2000s. And Kobe would have been more than likely the playoff MVP in 2 of those 3 runs, in my estimation, if they made it a full playoff MVP thing and not just one series at the end. So
that's a really good point. You know what? I was on that note too, Skap. I think some of us, I'm not going to call you this, but I mean, I'm a self-proclaimed, even though I look like a hillbilly, I'm a self-proclaimed nerdy guy. I like statistics. It's fun for me. It's calming for me. Somebody like us needs to create an algorithm, like how they've got the Hollinger metrics and all this stuff and PER and whatever else, that tracks for era pace. And I know they have some of that out there, but there needs to be some definitive metric that we can use to look at historical players from the 60s and 70s and onward and compare them in an accurate format. Is what I'm saying making any sense? I don't think I said that very smart.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Because like I hear all the time about how inefficient Kobe is and how he was never good at those advanced metrics, which is why I talk about them so much with Jokic, is because I understand them so well because they've been used to attack Kobe for so many years. But when I look, I think like player efficiency rating, which is the preeminent one that people talk, I think Kobe has the 19th best PER in NBA history. But when you look at it, there's only two guys that played the majority of their time in Kobe's era that had a higher PER, Shaq and Tim Duncan, who played markedly closer to the rim and played different kinds of game style than Kobe was consistently out on the perimeter, facing double teams, shooting outrageously contested shots, and still he's higher than any other guy that played the majority, including other bigs, all-time legendary bigs like Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki. Like, he's higher than them in PER, and all I hear about is how inefficient Kobe is. Well, it's because nobody was as efficient then as they are today.
Yeah, well said. I mean, that's why, to me, PER, I kind of throw it out the window, honestly, and because it's so biased towards the bigs. And you can't, aside from all the stats, aside from all of that, from the human element, you can't emphasize enough the difference, and to bring it all full circle with what we were talking about earlier with getting to root for Wemby if the league and his team endorses him. Kobe's own team literally did not want him to score. You know, and having Shaq on there made that even more of a detriment, to where literally, factually, documentedly, Phil Jackson, the team around him, wanted Shaq to get those MVPs. They pushed the offense and the stats in that direction. If Kobe ventured out, it was like he was breaking a rule. And so you can, even if you had all the same rules, same competition, but that alone was different. And Phil Jackson said, we're going to run through Kobe on this one. He could have averaged 40 a game against those weak Eastern Conference teams if they wanted it to be that way. So.
Well, and the thing is too, like, the triangle automatically muffles your individual scoring. Like, it's supposed to be like an equal opportunity offense, basically. And that's why when you see Jordan in the 80s, I mean, he was averaging 35 one year, 37 another year. But then when Phil came in and instituted the triangle, he still led the league in scoring. But as the defenses were, as the league was getting harder to score in, and et cetera, and it was kind of sharing the wealth more in the triangle, Jordan still led the league in scoring, but it was more 30 points per game, 31. He averaged 29 one year and led the league in scoring. So basically, the triangle isn't being an equal opportunity offensive system. Kobe played in that for most of the second part of his peak career without Shaq, and then he played in it with Shaq for the first part. So Kobe's basically muffling his own scoring and trying to feed Shaq and basically do the best thing to win as many championships. Then he has 2 years basically outside of the triangle, outside of Phil,
let's go
to freelance around. And one of those 2 years is the greatest scoring season in NBA history. So we saw what the capabilities were. If only in a flash. But we saw, like, the dude averaged 35.4 points per game in a 96 point per game season. Insane. He had over half of the 50-point games that season for the entire NBA. He averaged 45. Like,
that's a great stat.
It was just so mind-blowing. Like, if in an alternate existence, in an alternate timeline, Kobe could have easily scored. He could have led the league in scoring, perhaps not 10 times like Mike, but he probably more than anybody else, more than Chamberlain, who had 7. So Chamberlain's second all time with 7 scoring titles. Jordan's number 1 with 10. I think Kobe could have been right in that 8 or 9 scoring crowns if he really wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
Probably 30, 31 points per game for a career average if he really wanted to. That's the thing that drives me the craziest, Stefan, that people say that Kobe was a ball-hogging shot chucker that cared more about his statistics than winning. Bullshit. Because if he cared about his statistics, he would have led the league in scoring every single year, because he easily could have.
Frickin' A, right. Number one. And I mean, you remember he had one season where he's like decimals behind Kevin Durant, and he could have played. I think he only had to score like 42 or something in the final game, and he set out the game because he wanted to rest for the playoffs. And that's partially because he didn't care about that stuff and he was a team guy, but it was also, back to the whole media thing, it was partially because he had everybody screaming at him, oh, you're this, you're that, you're the thing. So he was forced to prove them wrong. It's basically sports media gaslighting is what it is. It's telling someone they're doing something they're not and forcing them to go. And you remember he would go on those stretches. People would say he was shooting too much, and then he'd average like 9 or 10 assists for a couple weeks just to show that he could. And then he'd go back to doing the thing that was the best for the team. So it's depressing. Anyway,
it is. I mean, and it's been happening. Us Kobe fans Of course we have a chip on our shoulder and we feel a certain way about it because it's been happening his whole, like when he was in the league at the time and he was easily the best player, we were being told that he wasn't. And then when he got out of the NBA, now in hindsight, in revisionism, we're being told, oh, well, he wasn't as good as you think he was, or that you remember that he was. And yet every guy that has played against him, or every guy that was in the overlapping era with him and LeBron, every single guy I've ever heard of, everyone, 100%, that go on the record say, oh yeah, it's Jordan and then Kobe. Like they're the two best players ever.
Because it's just factually obvious. Yeah. The third part of where you're going with that too, for me anyway, a video idea for you, Skap, is the most infuriating thing that Kobe haters say. And the guy said it on your thing, on your interview, the LeBron gentleman, Connor, I think his name, that Kobe's legacy has been enhanced since his death. And they don't want to insult him because he's dead. And then they insult him. That makes my head explode because it's, number one, it's not factual because like you said, he was in the GOAT discussion throughout the entirety of his playing career. He was universally, by the players and the people that know, considered a top 5 player before his death. And now they've used his death to denigrate him to where I almost don't even like talking about that he's passed away because I feel like it actually limits the respect of the argument for his actual game on the court.
Yeah, it is. It's ludicrous that people say that he's been enhanced since his death. Like when he was playing, everybody was talking about him in Jordan conversations, like broadcasters, opposing coaches, all the players that were playing. And now he's out of the top 10 somehow. Like on most periodicals and stuff I see, he's somehow like 11, 12, 13. What are you talking about? Like his legacy continues to dip now.
Yeah.
So, I don't see that at all. One of my favorite documentaries, other than The Last Dance. Have you ever seen the Redeem Team documentary piece?
I did. I actually kind of was surprised by how good it was, since it was Clutch that did it, wasn't it?
I actually didn't know. If it was, I'm gonna have to. I need to go back
surprised.
And yeah. But the way that all of the players spoke about Kobe, like about what kind of a level he was at, and how they basically, none of them were at his level, and they all basically said we learned something, like we became different players essentially. I mean, even LeBron was like, oh yeah, this guy's different. Like even being interviewed today. Yeah. When he was talking about back then, seeing Kobe Bryant's work ethic, his drive, his determination, the way he approached his preparation and stuff and things off the court, like even LeBron today, like who is as insufferable as anybody and who wants to talk himself up at every chance he gets. He said, all of us just looked at each other basically and we're like, yeah, this guy's just different. So it kind of showed that the players did have that reverence for him that is so rare. Like you don't see most peers don't have that reverence. Like Jordan and Kobe are basically the only guys I've seen where players have the respect, the fear, everything for you while you're still playing.
They sure as hell don't have it for LeBron, I'll tell you that. No. And Mike Krzyzewski too. I think in that documentary, he said definitively Kobe was the best player in the league at that time. So we were so happy to get him. That actually, Skap, back to my theory with LeBron from earlier. That documentary played a role in me forming that opinion. And if Kobe wasn't the assassin that he was, and if he wasn't the cold-blooded killer and all that, and he had sucked up to LeBron like LeBron does to all these young guys and like tried to butter him up, LeBron would probably still be kissing his ass. But I think Kobe just shut that down and like I said, broke his heart. But anyway, good segue into my final sports topic. And if you've got time, I might try to bug you for movies here, but we'll see. But my final sports topic that I have to ask that I care less than I normally would, but LeBron, there's been rumors about him joining Steph Curry. I'm hoping that he gets off of my Lakers finally. Where do you see him going? We talked about this at the beginning of the year and it looked like it was a foregone conclusion that he would be gone. And now it looks like he might somehow stay, but where do you see that happening?
Beginning of the year and halfway through the year, I thought 0% he would be back with the Lakers. Now I think it might be the probability that he's back with them, unfortunately, for all of the Lakers fans in recess. But I think there is at least a chance that they can't reach a like a contractual consensus between the two, because I think the Lakers would love to get him around 10 to 15 million if he would accept that. That'd be a big cut because he made 54 million this year. So I don't know that he'd be willing to accept that much less on the same team. So and I don't think that they're going to give him more than around that. Maybe they would go as high as 18, 19 million. But beyond that, I think he's probably going to have to go somewhere else. And to me, yeah, Cleveland makes the obvious choice. It's in the East. It's an easier conference. They have a good team that went too deep in the playoffs already. You know, they were in the East Finals. So they probably would dump James Harden, and whatever money they were to use on him, they would give to LeBron. And that would make, to me, the most basketball sense. The Golden State thing, it keeps flaring up because they tried to trade for him, I think 2 years in a row at the deadline. It didn't work out.
And the Lakers were like, do you want to, it was like if you were in a relationship you didn't want to be in, you're like, you know what, maybe you should go. And then LeBron didn't want to do it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, and Steph is actively recruiting him now as we speak. So that's why it's kind of coming up, but it makes no sense to me from a basketball standpoint. You've got Curry's 38. Jimmy Butler coming off an ACL, he's 37. LeBron's obviously going to be like 42. It just none of it seems to make sense to me. Draymond Green will still be in the mix. He's 37 or 38. So any one of those guys get hurt at any minute. If they are hypothetically all 100% healthy to go in the playoffs, they're still at best to me the fifth or sixth best team maybe in the West. So I just don't understand why he would go to a fourth team now this late in his career, a fourth different franchise this late for that to be probably one and done in the playoffs. I don't understand it. So my expectation is LA with a chance of Cleveland.
Okay, so this is what I think will determine it. I think as LeBron haters, we have to decide where we want him to go. And then wherever it is that we want him to go, it's going to be the opposite. I would be happy if he went to Golden State because of the reasons you just said, and he can stat pad, do whatever he wants, but there's no risk of them winning a championship. Where do you want him to go?
I think I would probably want him in. It's tough because I think I'm probably in a vacuum Golden State, because you're on the West Coast though, because I'm on the East Coast, and I would want to make a video or do a live stream after every game. Yeah. Then it would be fun for him to be on the East Coast in Cleveland, so I could do like a response to all 82 regular season games. Yeah. But from a hate watching basketball standpoint, for me, probably Golden State as well. I agree with you there.
Well, on my tiny little channel, I've had a lot of arguments with the Lakers Fast Break guys defending Rob Pelinka because I think he's another victim of the LeBron media stuff. But if Rob Pelinka brings him back, I'm done with the Lakers for the rest of my life. I'll never support them again. And then I'll jump on, maybe, you can take me as the Nuggets fan. Maybe you can accept me and I'll jump on the...
There you go. Or the Spurs. You like Wemby.
Or the Spurs.
So you jump on the Spurs.
Me and Gary will get into it. So that's right. Oh, I'm doing better with segues today, or a little bit. So we talked about what you've got coming up with the show. You're breaking off into a daily live show. Do you have any plans? Because one of my favorite things that you do on the live streams is when it gets into the movies, and any spin-off opportunities coming up to where you might want to talk about some of pop culture in addition to sports.
Well, so I mentioned I might do like I don't know what the name would be. Maybe like Docu-Scap or Scapumentary or something would be the channel name, and I would do put my longer form basketball stuff there, but I might maybe use that to branch into other kind of documentary, mockumentary style videos where I talk about stuff and infuse it with the humor elements that I put in those original kind of videos that I did way back in the day when I started. So that I could do it there, or maybe I just do a third channel and a movie channel, because I do love movies a lot. And as you know from the live streams, I do compare things often, or I'm always have movies in the back of my mind most of the time. So certainly that is a distinct possibility. Yes.
How about Scap University? That's my 2 cents.
Okay. I like that. I like it.
If you pick it, give me a royalty or something. I don't know. Closing, obviously, hopefully the next time I talk to you, you'll be above 100,000. You'll have that plaque sitting behind you. But anything to say to the people before I leave you alone for the day?
Who knows? Maybe I'm willing always, Stefan, to do this as anytime you want. I'm willing to hop on and chat with you. So we don't have to wait so long between this one and the next one.
I try to leave you alone because, But no, it's always a pleasure, my friend. So
Same. Always a pleasure as well. Thank you so much for your obviously continued support and generosity for of me and my channel. I really do appreciate that. So yeah, anything I could do to pay it back or help you out or get on with you here, like I'm obviously always happy to do